The next part is the presentation of the Max Goodwin Award. And attached to your agenda, you can see the list of some of the former recipients of the award. And the award says, for distinguished service to the citizens of Indiana and the United States as an outstanding young lawyer dedicated to protecting the rights of the injured under the laws of the state of Indiana and the United States of America. And I just want to read a little bit. Our award recipient this year is Amy Davis, and a little bit of her bio. She's a native of Frankton, Indiana, and attended Anderson University. While there at Anderson, she was on the basketball team, earning captain honors, and went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in the school's history. She attended IU Law School. She has done absolute yeoman work helping our organization with the young lawyers, help energize that group, and it's so important to us that we make sure we're constantly keeping the next generation of ITLA members interested in the organization and working with us and moving up. And she's here today with her husband, Mark, and her daughter, Nora. Oh, and Maggie. So Amy, why don't you come up?
Thank you, Frank, and thank you, everyone. Man, it's been a heck of a year this year. I took over as chair of the Young Lawyers in May of last year when I was 6 months pregnant with my second daughter. And shortly after finding out that my father had been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And had Maggie in July, and then we lost my dad on October 8th of last year. And then I decided that that would be a good time to change jobs too, so I joined Mark Scott in Kokomo. And so now we're here a year later, and I wish that my dad was sitting over there at that table, but I'm grateful that the rest of my family is here. And I just want to say a couple things about ITLA before I start thanking all the people that mean so much to me. But ITLA for me was something that when I first started at a place called Housen McNally, my attorneys that I worked with there, Rod Tucker and Chris Mueller, had encouraged me to get involved in so I can meet other lawyers that did the same thing that we did, and to just develop friendships and relationships, and to, maybe make a difference for lawyers that do what we do. So it just came natural. For me, ITLA was not, being involved wasn't something that I thought of as like, oh, I have to do this. It was something that I chose and felt like a happy obligation to do, and continue to feel that way. So I encourage all of you that have young lawyers in your office, encourage them to get involved. Almost all the lawyers that I know or that I've become friends with, I've met through ITLA. And as far as working with the young lawyers, Alex Lamontes, who I took over for, really got us back up and running again in a really great way. And we share a lot of the same goals of promoting ourselves through and our organization through community service, and also spending a lot of time with the lawyers on the other side and developing those relationships as well. Because it's a lot harder to be a jerk to somebody that you know and that you've developed a relationship with. So we've really stayed committed to doing that. I don't know if anybody else watches, I've started watching this a little bit, the television show Suits. It's about lawyers, but every time I watch it, I think, God, I hope that young people are not watching this show and saying, like, this is why I want to be a lawyer, because it's all like people punching people, and it's about winning, and it's not about your client at all. And so we're on our, like right now, we're trying to make sure that that kind of stuff is not the way that this profession is portrayed or actually is. We want to actually sit down with people and develop these relationships. So I want to go back then and talk and start thanking the people that have been really important to me. Like I said, I got my start at a place called Houseman McNally. Rod Tucker and Chris Moeller, who's at Nunn's office now, gave me my first job and encouraged me to be involved. And I got to try my first case as a law student, as a certified legal intern with Chris Moeller. And those guys there at Houseman gave me the opportunity to try cases as second chair, but then as first chair very quickly at a really young age, and I'm so grateful to them for that. Another thing that Rod Tucker did is he wanted me to see some trials too. So he reached out on our listserv and said, is there anybody that has a trial? And as fate would have it, and I'm glad it did, Gloria Danielson, who's here at my table today, reached out and said, well, I don't have a trial, but we're working on a case in this trial skills group that we've got going on, and we do a lot of Jerry Spence stuff. Well, I hate to say it, but I don't know who Jerry Spence was at that point. So I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but I'll go check it out. And that skills group changed my life as a lawyer and changed my life as a person and connected me with so many wonderful people. Gloria and Betsy are my incredible mentors that have guided me along in this profession and taught me what it is to be the kind of lawyer that you should be, the kind of lawyer that will work with people, the kind of lawyer that is civil. We've talked about that a lot today. And that's the way to get things done. So to Gloria and to Betsy, you're my girls. Thank you. To other people that have been incredibly, incredibly important in my career are my paralegals. Katie Potter, I worked with at Houseman McNally, and she trained me, taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and got me straightened out, and was there with me at that firm every step of the way, and I could not have done anything that I did without her. And Amy Hill, who is was my paralegal at Keller & Keller, and I miss her. She did so much for me. I'm like realizing again like how much I forgot that I did know how to do earlier that I don't know how to do now, that I'm relearning. So thank you both for being here. You've meant so much to me in my career, and I love you both. You guys want to stand up? I just want to give some more love to the paralegals because they make our life so much easier. Mark Scott, I am so incredibly honored to be working with you now, and I'm so excited about our future. Yes, I'm so excited. And then here's my family. Mom. So you heard Frank say earlier, I've played basketball my whole life. I played in college too, and my dad, when I was growing up, had always encouraged me, like, well, you want to get better, you got to go play church basketball or in our church basketball league, but you play on the boys' team, because you know what, you're going to be better than a bunch of them, and they're going to be like, whoa, and then you're going to get better too. And I did, and I'm so thankful that my dad always encouraged me to not do something because I was a woman or because I was a girl. And I would not have ever thought that I could do this kind of work if it weren't for that and for him telling me that I could be more and I didn't have to change who I was because I was a woman. And now I've got 2 little girls too that are here. Hey, Nora. Nora. And I hope that I can do for them what my dad did for me and let them know that you can be whatever you want and you can be really good at it too. My brothers that are here, Alex and Eric, they've been such an amazing support, always, but particularly through this time with us being without Dad. And my husband, Mark Snodgrass, my man, who makes all of this possible for me. He takes on so much in our family, takes care of our girls when I get home late, does all the things that I never thought I'd have somebody at home helping me with like this. So you make this all possible, and I'm so grateful. I hope I didn't forget anyone. If I did, Bruce, I'm so, so happy to be sharing the stage with you today. So honored to be sharing the stage with you. And thank you all again so much. She said it was so long, Mommy.
Thank you, Amy. The next part of the program is the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I just want to say that one of the great things about being a part of this organization, and especially coming from a relatively small law firms during my career, is being able to rub elbows with some really great trial lawyers. And it has allowed me personally over the years to be involved with and talk to and get advice from some lawyers that I really look up to. And it's been a rock in my career, in my life, to have this resource available. And Bruce has been one of those guys. So thank you. And I'm going to read the text of the Lifetime Achievement Award. This award honors those individuals who have dedicated a professional lifetime to upholding both the letter and intent of Article 1, Sections 12 and 23 of the Indiana Constitution. And to introduce Bruce, Chris Stevenson and Bill Winningham are going to come up and speak about Bruce's life and career. So come on up, please.
Well, I'm not Bill Winningham, so that must mean I'm Chris Stevenson. I have known Bruce Kehoe since finishing my first year of law school, almost 17 years now, and that's hard to believe. Harry Wilson hired me as a law clerk because I was a pilot, and he had a number of aviation-related cases. And I assumed Harry had discussed his hiring decisions with his partner, Bill and Bruce, but I assumed wrong. I think I had been at the firm for a week or two when Bruce stuck his head into my cubicle and curiously asked who I was. And I, of course, said I was the new law clerk brought on board by Harry to help with his aviation cases. And Bruce asked, well, why Harry's aviation cases? And I said I was a pilot. I'd graduated from Purdue, and I'd flown cargo for a couple of years. And now I was in my first year of law school. And Bruce nodded, and he smiled, and he said I would learn more from working with Harry than I ever would in law school. And, of course, Bruce was right. Bruce knew what he was talking about because he too had learned from Harry Wilson as a young lawyer. Harry passed away shortly after I graduated from law school. And Bruce Kehoe stepped into the role of mentor, and what a mentor he has been. It's hard to put into words everything that I have learned from Bruce about being a good lawyer. It's a long list. I have a short time, so I'm just going to mention 3 key points that I want to share that I've learned from Bruce about being a good lawyer. Number 1, hard work wins cases. I know Bruce, learned this one from Harry, who was notorious for his 5:30 a.m. staff meetings. Hard work means investigation, means legal research, means knowing the facts of your case better than anyone else. Several years ago, Bruce and I had a aviation wrongful death case where lightning was an issue, and the Department of Justice was defending the air traffic controller who had directed an airplane into a thunderstorm, and the DOJ had hired a high-powered PhD expert who had spent his whole career studying lightning. And we called this guy Dr. Lightning, fittingly. And I was nervously prepping to take this expert's deposition, and Bruce told me, "You may not be smarter than Dr. Lightning when it comes to knowing how lightning works, but if you know the facts of your case better than he does, you'll steal his thunder." Bruce is also good at turning a phrase. And Bruce was right. I worked hard, and Dr. Lightning did not know the facts of the case as well as I did, and he had to concede a few points, which is always a win. And it takes hard work to know the facts of your case, and that's with every case. And of course, I do have to say that Bruce has also been known to say this: "I will fight that legal battle with the last drop of Mr. Stevenson's blood." And I should say now Mr. Noyes and young Mr. Winningham as well. Number 2, timing is everything. Bruce Kehoe is a master at timing a case to put it in the best posture for a successful outcome. Bruce knows, and I've heard him say this, when a defense lawyer needs to, quote unquote, put time in the case or time in the file, you allow them to take a few depositions before turning up the heat with some requests for admissions or pushing for mediation or trial. He applies pressure on a case at just the right time. And I don't know how many times I've been with Bruce at mediation when we've held back, kept our cards close to our chest, and not played that last card or that last piece of evidence until the very end of the negotiations, and we force a defendant into paying what our demand is. And Bruce has an amazing and uncanny intuitive feel for negotiating and leveraging evidence at just the right time. I consider it to be a true art. And in the words of Kenny Rogers, he knows when to hold 'em, knows when to fold 'em, knows when to walk away, and knows when to run. And I have witnessed this firsthand many, many times. Number 3, and this is most important, practice law and life with a focus on relationships. This is what has made Bruce such an amazing mentor. He takes the time needed to develop relationships with his law clerks, with his clients and other attorneys, and it's what life is really about, relationships. And Bruce has taught me that there is no substitute for sitting down with a new client at their kitchen table to discuss a case. And I do it, and every time I do, I come away knowing that person much better than I could ever hope to know them in a sterile law office environment. I see family pictures. I've even experienced my client's love for antique tractors that he has sitting in his garage. And it takes time to make that happen. And sometimes it even means getting out of your comfort zone, but so often it's very much worth it. Not only does Bruce develop relationships with his clients, but he also takes time to get to know other lawyers and even those who are sitting at defense counsels. He's a true professional when it comes to dealing with other attorneys, even those that can sometimes be a little prickly. Finally, I think most importantly, Bruce extends that practice of developing relationships outside the legal field. I know Bruce has spent many hours mentoring a minority high school student in the Starfish program. He's been with this young man on college visits, helped him get his driver's license, and much more. Bruce will strike up a conversation with nearly anyone. I've experienced it. I think Bruce knows the wait staff at every restaurant in the city of Indianapolis. Bruce will also will spare no expense when it comes to building lifelong experiences for his family. There are not many vacations where Bruce doesn't have 4 or 5 family members, many of which are seated here. Not many vacations where he will not have 4 or 5 family members with him. And he does this because he loves building relationships with others. And that is what I love most about Bruce Kehoe and why he is very deserving of the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, I have known Bruce Kehoe for 33 years, going back to the time when I first joined Wilson and Kehoe. I joined Wilson and Kehoe really because of Harry Wilson. Harry was a legendary lawyer, a brilliant person, well-known, dynamic, and that's really what brought me there because I didn't know Bruce. But I really stayed because of Bruce Kehoe, because of all the things that Chris Stevenson just talked about. Bruce is quiet, he's unassuming, but he has a tremendous dedication to excellence and a real passion for helping others. And as Chris mentioned, the Starfish Initiative as an example, not just clients, but in a real wide variety of ways. Those qualities first showed themselves when Bruce started off as a physical therapist. He was a physical therapist for years, had a very successful practice, and then went to law school to find a different way to help people. I know that right now, Bruce is the most uncomfortable person in this room. He does not like people talking about him and bragging on him, but we're going to do it for a few more minutes. He is very, very humble. He's also multi-talented. Bruce has been a physical therapist. He's been an airplane owner. He's been a pilot. He's a father, grandfather. He's a spouse. And I know that Harry Wilson and Bruce's father, Don Kehoe, would be immensely proud, but maybe not surprised at what Bruce has accomplished and is still accomplishing. We are very blessed to have Bruce's mother, Mary Kehoe, with us here today, 92, going on 93, still sharp as a tack. Can we give a round of applause for Mary? I'll let Bruce introduce the others at the head table, but Mary's the only one who's been around for the entire lifetime that we're celebrating here today. So good job, Mary. Bruce has been our business manager, our bean counter at our law firm, as he calls himself. And when I got there, I kind of started to learn about the cases that Harry and Bruce had worked on and what they were doing. And I said, you guys are the best kept secret in town. You know, this amazing work that you're doing, but we need to publicize this. So I kind of took over the marketing. But the problem was that I couldn't get Bruce to brag on himself, so I had to brag on him. And that turned out to be easy to do. Bruce has a long list of accolades, but I think one that's quite remarkable is that for the last 12 years in a row, Bruce has been named one of the Indiana top 10 super lawyers. 12 years in a row. That's a peer-driven recognition, and I don't think that many people would have gotten that award, and congratulations, Bruce. That's a real feather in your cap. Bruce has been an ITLA stalwart, past president on the executive committee for years, now president of the College of Fellows. But most importantly, I know that when Mickey or Jason call, Bruce responds right away because I'm next door and I can hear him. And he's always there for ITLA. He's also a real lawyer's lawyer. I don't know how many times people call to Bruce, can I pick your brain about something? Let me ask you about this issue. You know, who do you have as an expert? Can I get a brief from you? And Bruce is always willing to help. He's just selfless in that way. And that's why all of us, I think so highly of him. Bruce is wonderful with clients, and he'll spend just as much time with a client with a $25,000 case as he will with a client for $1 million case. He will always say, you know, until you walk in their shoes, you don't really understand. And he tries to walk in their shoes and understand where a client is coming from. Bruce has tremendous medical knowledge because of his physical therapy background, and Chris is right, he prepares very hard for medical depositions. He reads medical literature, due in part to the fact that his wife Sherry is a nurse and works for us and gets Bruce ready for these. But he is tremendous at as Chris said, knowing the timing and when to go for the jugular and when not to. Bruce has an unusual ability to get along with everybody in our system. Justice David was talking about civility and told a great story about the prosecutor and the defense lawyer roles and how they can get emotional against each other. And we had that happen in our business. As you know, it's going to be a tough business. People have been hurt, their lives have been changed, it can be emotional. Bruce is never petty. He always finds a way to avoid embarrassing the other lawyers, no matter how much of a jerk somebody might be. Let me just give you a very quick example. This has happened within the last the last 9 months or so. Bruce had a medical malpractice case going, and he was trying to depose the defense doctor, but the defense lawyer wouldn't give any date for the deposition. Bruce went to Africa with his family on a trip, no cell phone access, no internet. Well, in the meantime, the defense lawyer files this motion saying that the case should be dismissed for lack of prosecution, and Bruce is in Africa. So Bruce gets back, sees this motion, fires off, dictates a very detailed response about how I've been trying to move the case forward, but you won't give me the doctor's deposition. It's not my fault, don't blame me, on and on and on. I've been in Africa. But instead of filing it and asking for sanctions, he sends it to the defense lawyer. Says, I'm going to file this. Why don't you just withdraw your motion? Well, the defense lawyer didn't respond, so Bruce had to file it in court. The defense lawyer then called Bruce and apologized, said, I'm sorry. His defense was the insurance company made me do it, basically. But that's the way that Bruce Kehoe handles himself. He is a model, I think, for all of us in terms of how to get along. Bruce will say over and over again, we're all part of a system. You have to learn everybody has their role in the system. The defense lawyer has to be able to work the file. He's got to make a living, and she has to make a living too. I understand that, and that's the way that Bruce looks at things. Bruce is very wise. Many years ago when Harry was with us, and Harry was brilliant, and with Harry the highs were high and the lows were low. And Harry was not adverse to spending money on cases. We used to say Harry never met a case he didn't like. And there were times I'd go to Bruce's office and complain about the way that we were spending money on these cases. And Bruce finally said, Bill, you got to remember that there are 99 negatives about practicing with Harry, but there are 100 positives. And if you can't keep that in mind, then you're going to be eternally frustrated. And I always thought that was almost a good metaphor for life. There might be 99 negatives, but there are 100 positives, then it makes sense to go forward and do it. I want to read a letter. Bruce had an amazing series of cases involving multi-purpose lighters that were not childproof, and he had 5 lawsuits in 4 states, went to Japan to take depositions and got amazing results. And he hired a local counsel in San Bernardino County, California, named Bill Shapiro. When Bill found out that Bruce was getting this award, he wrote a letter, and let me read a couple paragraphs because I think it'll tell you how others view Bruce. Always an honor to team with great trial lawyers. Teaming with Bruce was teaming with one of the very best in the country. From our first call back in 1998, the dedication for his clients was palpable. So many lawyers would have passed on the case, but Bruce was unaccepting that responsibility for the fire should have fallen on the parents. His mission was to prove that the utility lighter should have had a child-proof safety feature which would have prevented this tragedy. It was clear Bruce was out to make a difference in the world. I was proud to be on the team. It was amazing, the depositions taken in Japan, the hours of work, the admissions, and so on and so forth. It was no surprise that the case settled for a confidential multi-platinum amount that changed the world for the client, his family, and the universe. I only hope trial lawyers in every state and every country, plaintiff and defense, get a chance to work and watch Bruce Kehoe. It'll change the way they practice. I was fortunate to come to know Bruce. We stayed in touch over the years. He graciously welcomed me to your office for depositions or whatever. Bruce keeps in check with his pride and sense of family, children, and grandchildren. We're separated by states and busy schedules, but he has a special place with me. There is not a civil trial practice class I teach I don't use Bruce Kehoe as an example. I'm sure the ITLA has many exceptional trial lawyers who could well have been selected, but with Bruce, they got it right. Let me just close by saying that there was a trial years ago that Harry had in Texas. It was a helicopter crash case. It was a hard-fought, long, difficult case. Harry won. Harry came back, and Bruce said simply, "Harry, that was a lawyerly job on that case." Didn't say, Harry, that was brilliant. Didn't say, Harry, that was unbelievable. That was a lawyerly job. And you know, Harry took that as the finest compliment I think that his law partner could give him, that was a lawyerly job. Bruce, you've been doing a lawyerly job for 37 years now, and I hope you keep it up for many to come. Congratulations.
Bruce, if you would come up, please.
One more.
Wow. Thank you doesn't quite say it, does it? You know, I've been a member of this organization really since I was a lawyer. I followed it as a law clerk. One of the most fortuitous events in my life, of which I've had several, was becoming an investigator at the firm of Wilson, Tabor, and Holland. Marvelous lawyers. I got a start, and I found my passion. Not everybody in life finds their passion. So thanks. It's just been quite a picnic. It's been quite a picnic from day one. I want to thank Steve Williams and Dan Roby, who were thoughtful enough to nominate me for this award that I'm humbled and appreciating today. I've had the pleasure of working with Jason and Mickey over the years, and you know, I've never known life as a lawyer without having the friendship of Mickey Wilson. You know, I'm not always as socially comfortable as I would like to be in various settings, and you know, there's a function kind of like today, and Mickey is organizing things and orchestrating as she often does. And she said, I want these 2 seats for Bruce and his wife Sherry, because he is always so much more comfortable when he's with Sherry. And I thought, what a recognition of the human condition and the human experience, which has helped make Mickey such a fabulous person for ITLA and a resource and a wonderful friend. And I value that relationship greatly. You know, Chris, just seeing Chris develop as a person, as a lawyer, as a dad, as a farmer, wow, it has been a marvelous thing to see. And I did kind of take over Harry's role. I'm not a natural mentor. I'm sorry, but I'm a doer. I didn't get very high marks for works well with others when I was in grade school, and you know, I've always taken my own depositions and cases, but Chris and I have made the transition, and now I'm at a point where we get an aviation case, and I got to fight for a little piece of turf, and in that case, and you know, I've been with Bill Winningham all these years, and here I am, 38 years into the practice of law, and I can say, you know what, I have shared a checkbook with 2 lawyers in my career. How many people get that privilege? Wow. When Harry was with us, we would always say, you know what, if there was a nickel on the floor, we didn't have to worry because we knew it was gone in the till. What a pleasure it has been to practice with Bill Winningham for over 30 years. We've supported one another emotionally, legally, financially. We've supported one another's family, and we will continue to do so and count ourselves among the fortunate. Some introductions. I have two support staff members here, Sherry Friedel, who's been with me for many battles as a certified legal assistant, paralegal par excellence. Julie, man, has been with the firm almost as long as my wife, Sherry. She wears so many hats, I can't even count them all. Sitting to her right is my stepdaughter, Casey, and her brother, Nick, are here. You know, Sherry and I are blessed, and we love our kids. Evan Rudder is not just a law clerk, you know, he's getting a battlefield promotion today that he may not even know about because he's our senior law clerk. So that's going to go on the resume, but you know, don't look for a change in the check on Thursday because I'm not sure that's there. With Bill is his wife Maureen, who's of course been a big part of everything. You've met Chris. We had Kent Winningham join us here just not too many months ago, and you know, one of the best compliments I've had was when Bill gave me the charge of trying to recruit Kent. So I gave him the hustle from Chicago, and what a great addition. John Noyce has been with us both as a law clerk and as an associate for the past almost 4 years now. And John, what a great lawyer. What a great energy. What great work he's done on the amicus committee. So thanks. Over at my table, Sally, who's a surrogate daughter of my wonderful mother and my father, who's absolutely here in spirit today. And I know that because I heard him clipping his fingernails out in the hallway because he would certainly be nervous. Brooke made the trip with Sally from North Carolina, and I'm very privileged to have him here for what's a wonderful, fun day. My sister Linda, her husband Bruce are just. I hope you're happy to be here because I am. You've met my mother, who's creeping up on 93 next month. You know, she would tell me to kind of speed things along a little bit. You know, Bruce, I think everybody's heard your Kehoe bullshit before. That's the kind of candor that my mother brings to the table. I absolutely promise you that, and my wonderful wife, Sherry, who's been the nurse consultant at our firm, that I might have another word to say about in just a few minutes. But, you know, the ITLA has really been my hobby. I don't play golf, but I've loved the camaraderie. I'm going to get to them. Don't you worry about that. But thank you. But I'm going to get to them. But it's been an interesting life as a trial lawyer, and you know, in the early part of my career, we had more trials, and you know, I don't know my colleagues, I don't know younger people, you know, who can say, you know, I've had to try over 100 jury trials, and that's not always easy, and it puts a lot of pressure on a home. You're out of town, you're taking depositions, you're gone. So I want to introduce you to my sons and tell a story about them a little bit. My oldest son, Patrick, seated to his left is Jason, and they've had to put up with the life of a trial lawyer in the household. And you know, I was gone for a week in a jury trial, and I hope they remember because there were some low points and some high points, but you know, I'm feeling pretty cocky because by God, I'm gonna win this case, and I'm gonna get a good result, and I'm gonna go home. And I thought enough, and I called ahead, and you know, it was a contentious case, and I had stopped by the butcher shop there in Fishers, and filled a briefcase, and I walked in the back door of my home, and I set the briefcase down on the kitchen floor. My boys are there, and I said, "Fellas, I am back from trial, and I have cut out the heart of my enemy." And in my briefcase was a butcher block paper wrapped beef heart from the. And I think much to their mother's chagrin, I laid it out on the kitchen table, and we proceeded to carve it up because a beef heart has 4 chambers and valves, almost identical to the human heart. And we had a lot of fun. So they had some low points and some drudgeries of being in the house with a trial lawyer, but it also had some high points and some wonderful vacations. And I've had some fabulous times with these young men, and I'm proud of both of them, and I appreciate them being here so much. You know, in my graduating class, I had friends, Rick Hovde, Lance Klein, Mark Ladendorf. Wow, I wondered, where in the world is there room for me as a plaintiff's lawyer? That's a pretty darn good group of successful plaintiffs' lawyers. And, you know, I talk to them, and the thing that I take comfort in and pride in is that we could call one another on a cell, on a busy day. If we're in trial, we will return the phone call of an evening. I could get an expert, they could get an expert, they could get advice, I could get advice at a moment's notice. What other profession as competitive as ours has that kind of collegiality? But that's what is bred in the Indiana Trial Lawyers Association that I have been privileged to be a part of. I was at the award or the past president's dinner last night with friends, and I'm there talking with George Gray and Mary Beth Ramey, who I thought just had a wonderful recognition last year with her Women of First, and I just thought it really raised the bar. And she gave me a bottle of champagne, and I'm talking to George Gray and Don Ward is there, for goodness sakes. What a giant in our organization. And you know, Mary Beth had that champagne, but folks, I got to tell you, George Gray had a referral fee for me. Which fulfills life, because when I grow up, I've always wanted to be a referring attorney. Over my span of efforts with the Indiana Trial Lawyers Association through the wonderful team, you know, I'll share with you, just because you look back at moments like this, and I have looked back, and I've remembered starting the practice of law when a child death had no remedy for parents. No remedy. An adult wrongful death without a dependent had no remedy. You couldn't bring a case against a driver if you were blocked by the guest passenger statute. My goodness, the issues that we had to confront, you know, legislatively, comparative fault, the work that was done to bring that god-awful, you know, contributory negligence doctrine to rest, except for the privileged few, the doctors and the government. There's still some challenges ahead for young folks at ITLA. And I talk about Lance and Mark and Rick, and you know, I don't know, maybe it's looking around or maybe it's looking over my shoulder, but I think of Bob Johnson and Jay Hoffman and what wonderful work they're doing today, and I look at Carolyn Gilchrist and Elizabeth Geenan Hansen, and I'm just impressed with the intelligence, the selfless leadership, and the diversity that our young folks on the executive committee and like Amy, who are putting their shoulder to the wheel to move this organization forward. It will be in great hands. I want to talk about the courts for a second, because that's part of my look back that I've done a little bit. And you know, when I started practicing law, wow, I don't want to throw stones or anything, but you know, our Supreme Court was bickering among themselves, and it was open on the front page of the Indianapolis Star. It was unseemly, the seeming bickering that went on, and it was a pretty, I don't know, was uncomfortable for lawyers. I will characterize our appellate court at the time as lethargic. As a lawyer, oh my God, my case is going to go up on appeal. I guess I'll talk to that client in a year and a half. And now, look at where we are today. We have Justice David coming into this organization and sharing his time and his energy. We have a vibrant Supreme Court. Our appellate court, my goodness, they have appeals on wheels. They have cut the time in half for appeals at the same time that they've doubled the number of cases that they hear. What a marvelous and prideful feeling we should have about our Supreme Court and our appellate court system that we enjoy here in Indiana. And our organization, and I say thanks to the men and women on our higher courts. You know, Bill touched upon some high points, and I've had some wonderful experiences as a trial lawyer. I have, and it's absolutely everything that's been accomplished has been a team effort in the highest sense. And I want to share a couple of those with you that I take particular pride in, not so much individually as I do representative of our law firm. And I am unashamed to say I do have a great deal of pride in my law firm, because I do. But, we had a case where we took on the truck trailer industry saying, they should have had retroreflective taping on flatbed trailers. What an idea. My goodness, they had tape. What does it cost? Retroreflective tape. We did all the work at 3M that, of course, they wanted to sell their product, and we prevailed against a trucking company, and we lost, of course, at the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, because there are no product liability plaintiff-friendly opinions that I'm aware of coming out of the Seventh Circuit, which is why a lot of lawyers won't take a product liability case if it's in the Federal Circuit. But the young man who drove into the side of that flatbed trailer, Jason was his name, had a serious brain injury and recognized that he had enough faculties left, and he went on to take his life. And I think it was the day after he was in the office, and he talked to Sherry Friedel, and he hugged us, big smiles on his face, and he had lost. And he had lost at life, and he had lost in the courts, and it was a tough day. But you know what? My sons know the story, and when we see a flatbed trailer today with retroreflective taping, we give credit to Jason. And it was kind of similar, the experience that we had with the multi-purpose lighters, which were, a safety feature that could totally eliminate household fires that were devastating to families. Horrible burns, horrible deaths. And we went over to Japan and got their documents, and of course, the games that they play with you, my goodness. They gave me 7 bankers' boxes of documents in Chinese, and I'm there without a translator, and of course, it's part of the process. But we prevailed, and we had a great time, and it was nice to hear the kind note from Attorney Bill Shapiro. But when I say a team effort, I want to share just an anecdote or two with you from that product liability litigation. What was our team? Because we had cases in multiple states at the same time, and it was difficult. But my right arm, I'll call it my left arm, because old Jerry was a lefty, but Jerry Lawless was an absolute tireless worker, attorney with us. He would work the night shift. He would be sliding notes under my hotel room door until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would get up about 4 o'clock in the morning and take his notes and prepare. And Jerry was so important to the team process. They paper you with pleadings in practice. We had to have a lawyer back at the office. For most of this time, it was Ralph Dowling, who had a PhD in communications from Ball State, marvelous writer. And he could be back at the office doing pleadings in practice. Sherry Friedel was in charge of the office. We had an IT director to help us with all of the documents, and that's the kind of team. My gosh, how could somebody like myself not succeed with that kind of arsenal? We had a client that was to be deposed, and again, the defense was, this is mom's fault. It's dad's fault. You shouldn't let a multi-purpose lighter get into the hands of a child and let them burn the house down. It's your fault. Forget that there's a safety feature that we already had R&D'd in Japan 5 years earlier that cost 3 yen. It's less than 3 cents. So when it came time to prepare this woman for her deposition, it's a trip I'll always remember because I was in my Piper Saratoga, which I loved. It was a short trip to western Pennsylvania. I had Dan Roby's wife, Kathy, who was an esthetician, went with me. Jerry and I flew out. Superman, as I called Chuck Huff, who was our firm pilot, who was just a wonderful, wonderful friend, as well as a pilot friend to my entire family. And miss him dearly. He's here in spirit as well. And we met Amy Singer out there. This goes back quite a while before I started working with Amy Party, because my really go-to person as a forensic jury consultant, and we spent about 2.5 days getting this woman ready for her deposition. She was a very large woman, 300 pounds. She was she didn't have confidence. She needed all the esthetician work that Kathy could bring to her. She had horrible burns, and again, who couldn't succeed with that kind of team? I intend to stay engaged, and it's been a heck of a picnic, but I hope there's another chicken leg or two in my basket, because other than saying thanks to ITLA, I got to say thanks to my wife Sherry, because I tried cases with Harry, and it was wonderful, and I tried cases with my dad. And it was fun. Oh my goodness. He's not a lawyer, but he sat at a counsel table with me. But my wife, Sherry, tried about 15 jury trials with me, where she was my only assistant during the course of trial. She was nurse, she was paralegal, she was associate. In my professional life, she's had the singular impact greater than any other person in my entire career, and I say thanks. On the personal side, the happiness and the peace that I have enjoyed starts with our home, and it starts with Sherry, and I say thank you. I'm humbled. But I'm humbled mostly today by the ITLA, by my friends, my colleagues, and that's enough Kehoe bullshit, but I say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, a final congratulations to Bruce, Amy, to our new officers and directors. 2 reminders. First, go back to the program so we can keep that moving and get finished on time. Tonight, there's a reception for Bruce and Amy, sponsored by Wilson, Kehoe, and Winningham, honoring Bruce as our 2018 Lifetime Achievement recipient. It'll be at 4:45 p.m. It's going to be at the Conrad. Just follow the signs. So thank you, and we adjourn the meeting and back to the seminar.